From the University of Alaska Anchorage, this is Seawolf Voices, a podcast about the pathways to and from education. I'm your host, Matt Jardin. In September 2020, the Board of Regents made the difficult decision to discontinue 3 UAA athletic programs due to reductions in the University of Alaska system's state-funded budget for fiscal year 2019 to 2020, unless the 3 teams could raise 2 years of funding to cover expenses. Gymnastics was the second of these programs to achieve reinstatement, raising half their goal of $444,000 by June 2021. This accomplishment was enough to return for the 2021-2022 season. Now the team is working to hit their second goal of raising another $444,000 by June 2022. Today the podcast is joined by aviation technology alumna and gymnastics head coach Marie-Sophie Boggasch and health sciences alumna and gymnastics assistant coach Kendra Daniels to share how they were able to achieve the first milestone and the work that lies ahead. Marie-Sophie and Kendra also talk about how they both became gymnasts, what it's like to coach the next generation of athletes, and the ongoing relationship UAA Gymnastics has with the Anchorage community. Kendra, welcome to Seawolf Voices.
Yes, I'm super happy to be here. Really excited.
And Marie-Sophie, welcome to you as well. Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
So before we start talking about more recent news, I want to start by talking about the news that kicked all this off, the news about UAA Gymnastics. What was going through your minds when you first heard that it was slated for discontinuation back in September 2020?
My first thoughts when I heard it actually was, well, I'm not prepared for this news. Let me get back to you on this. And so I kind of continued the meeting that they told it to me in and kind of circled back to it a couple days later. But by that time, we had come up with 60-page long paper that outlined how we could become sustainable in the long term. And then I felt prepared to face the news and to face those who wanted to make that suggestion. And we printed it out. We mailed it to all the regents. We mailed it to then Chancellor Sandine, as well as our athletic director, Greg Myford. And then I was ready to put up a fight. Unfortunately, of course, we weren't quite just granted continuance right away. It was a little bit of a 2-step process with the fundraising in between. So better than being eliminated altogether, but of course not the easy path that I would have loved to see for us. I had just taken the job as the assistant coach, I think for maybe a week. And my first actual thought was, it won't pass. Because it's happened in the past before that they've, tried to cut gymnastics and other sports, on the chopping block, and nothing had happened because of it. So originally I was like, this is kind of familiar territory, not too concerned. However, when the Board of Regents meeting, they did decide to cut our program, I was a little nervous. But I also had, all right, we have $888,000 to raise. Let's go do it. More of a, that was a big number that they gave us, but let's do it.
To summarize for our listeners, UAA Gymnastics had 2 milestones to hit. The first was to raise $444,000 by June 2021, originally February 2021, to be reinstated for the 2021-2022 season, which you hit right before the deadline. Can you tell me about your strategy in hitting that goal and what you thought of the support you received from the community?
There was the strategy of everybody's going to pick themselves up and go do it, whether that was me, whether that was my assistant coach Kendra, whether that was the team members. So that was the strategy. And we did it. Kendra and I both immediately started, monthly donations, or I guess bi-weekly is when our paychecks come out. The team members immediately started, social media campaigns. We had different events that we try to put on. We had a virtual competition. We had a social media challenge. We had leotard sales. we just tried to engage the public in however many different avenues that we could think of, which was difficult because there was no in-person fundraising possible at all. And so taking that out of the equation was a huge blow for us to be able to really connect with the public. And one of the biggest things that we did in order to reach our Anchorage community is we went on the online database and we had our team, including the two of us, just go down the alphabet and call or email or just try to get in touch, walk in, whatever you need to do, every single business that's registered in Anchorage. And we did. And that was a list of about 1,000 businesses or individuals that we tried to connect with and try to get donations from in a time that was really just difficult for everybody. It was tough. It was tough to just call somebody and ask them for a donation when you didn't even know how their business was doing with all the restrictions and with COVID and with lockdowns. And a lot of things didn't fall into place very quickly, which is why we're really grateful that we got the opportunity to kind of discuss our situation with interim President Pitney and back then interim Chancellor Schultz and kind of really present why our team is important to this university and why we add to the experience and not just swallow money. And so we're really grateful for that opportunity and for both of these leaders to really see our point and to just feel heard by them was very important.
And we also teamed up with the Benton Bay Lions, who helped put on 2 silent auctions for the gymnastics program and for the hockey program, which was awesome. And we also paired with the CGGI, which is College Gymnastics Growth Initiative. It's a group of coaches, important people that are involved with gymnastics in general, and they helped put on a GoFundMe for us, which was really awesome. That helped too.
It's interesting you bring up the Lions because that's actually related to one of my next questions. My understanding is that UAA Gymnastics does a considerable amount of volunteering during the off season. Was that always the case back when you both were competing in UAA Gymnastics? And why is it important for UAA Gymnastics to maintain that culture of giving back to the community?
That was always the case. I think our very first head coach, Paul Stoklos, just really started out with that tradition and it has just kept going ever since. I remember when I was for my freshman year, I believe we actually volunteered like 850 hours in a year. So I think that it's really important for our team to give back to the community because we're a small gymnastics community up in Alaska. We don't have, what some of our other sports have with the skiing just in our backyard or hockey. I mean, every boy or girl in town, I feel like, has played hockey once in their life or has at least tried it. And gymnastics is a little different. We are a smaller community. We don't quite have as many local gyms. So it is always important to us to get that community connection and to give back to the community in any way, shape, or form we can. And of course, our competitions play a large role for us in trying to really put on a show for UAA, but also for, of course, Anchorage. And then volunteering and kind of leaving our footprints, leaving our little Seawolf tracks throughout the community and really helping others by doing the best we can is also a really great life lesson for all of our team members, which is another thing that's always really important to our coaching staff, is to always try to shape our student athletes into the best human beings they could possibly become.
Before we talk about the second fundraising milestone, I want to delve into the community aspect of UAA Gymnastics a bit more. Before you became coaches, you both competed in the gymnastics program yourselves. Can you tell me how you started competing in gymnastics and why you chose to perform for UAA?
Now we're going way back. Gymnastics is a sport that you really have to start out young, or I guess it is at least the norm that you start out young. For me personally, it was almost like accidental. My parents put me like in a little mommy and me class. And then the instructor from that class was actually the head coach of the gym in Germany where I grew up. And he just asked me, hey, can you stay longer? And I didn't even understand what that meant, but I was just like, I think so. I mean, I was 7 years old, didn't really have a big schedule. And so, yeah, I just stayed longer. They assigned me a group, and one practice a week became two, became three, became five, seven, you name it. And then I actually graduated high school pretty early. I was 16 when I graduated high school in Germany. And so I felt like I wasn't quite done with the sport, but at the same time, I didn't want to just do gymnastics and not continue kind of furthering my career or kind of my life outside of the gym. And so my head coach back then in my last gym that I went to in Germany, she told me, hey, look into NCAA gymnastics. This is doable for you. You might be a good candidate. And I was super late to the game. I decided that I wanted to do it in February when classes started in August. So that was really late to the game. And I just got really lucky that then head coach Paul Stoklos noticed my recruiting video and wanted to get to know me more, and also had a spot open for that year because a lot of schools fill up way earlier than that. And so it just kind of was, it felt like it was meant to be because I was kind of late to the game, coming from Germany, didn't have much experience on how the recruiting process even works, and then just being picked up by then head coach like Paul Stoklos, who just emailed me, and I had to look up where Alaska even was because I thought it was its own country and not a state. So that is how I became a UAA gymnast, basically.
Marie-Sophie and I have similar stories, I feel, in some aspects. You know, my parents put me in a gym because I was flipping around the house and I had way too much energy. And they were like, you need to go run this off somewhere safe. And the gym my parents ended up putting me in was a smaller gym in Eugene, Oregon. It's named Gymnastics Northwest. And they, at the time, they weren't very competitive. They just were doing more like fun classes, you know, not really thinking about competing gymnastics. And I just came in at the kind of perfect time where that was changing. And the coaches that I had put me in compulsory, and I just loved doing floor and staring at myself dancing in the mirror. And I just stuck with it and ended up, you know, going all the way through. And how I came to Alaska is Alaska and Oregon are in the same region for gymnastics in NCAA. And sorry, not NCAA, but JO gymnastics. And I knew Kaylee Randolph. She also went to UAA, but at the time, you know, we had done a bunch of competitions together and have been pretty good friends because we went to a lot of the same gymnastics meets. And she was a year ahead of me. And I asked her, you know, what are you gonna do, you know, after this? Are you going to college? Like, what's your plan? And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to University of Alaska Anchorage to do gymnastics. And I was like, they have a gymnastics team in Alaska? Like, it blew my mind. She's like, yeah, and it's Division I. And so that's how I got word of Alaska. And I didn't decide I wanted to do college gymnastics till the summer before my senior year. So again, that is really late to the game. Most athletes probably start their freshman, sophomore year communicating or, you know, doing what they are able to do. And I got lucky that Coach P picked me up on the way, and I am very grateful to be here. And that was the best experience ever because I grew as an athlete coming to UAA for sure.
As this is a UAA podcast, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what degrees did you pursue while at UAA, and why did you choose to go down those paths?
I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Aviation Technology, and a couple years after that, I also started, by now I also finished it. We're already in 2021. Time flies. But I also have a Master of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies, with focus areas of aviation management and education. Initially, I thought I was going to do international studies. That was what I was signed up with when I came here. And then during the first few days, my parents actually dropped me off and stayed for about 2 weeks. And we did a little bit of a tour of Anchorage and we drove by the aviation complex. I did not know that UAA had an aviation program because I also committed in such a short period of time. And so there was just new things to learn. And I had always wanted to become an astronaut when I was younger. And then when I learned that they actually don't fly as much, I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to become a pilot because I want to fly. And then in Germany, it's a very different system. It's a very different process. And in order to become a pilot, you basically have to go through a commercial pilot, I should say. You have to go through an airline. And for that selection, I was about an inch too short. So it was something that was kind of out of my reach just because of, my height. And then I drove by it with my parents and we asked Coach P if that was a program that I could do. And he was like, oh, of course. Well, guess what? He has also flown airplanes before. And so before, I think actually on the first day of classes, I dropped all my classes that I had signed up for. I changed my major and I enrolled in all my new classes. And I actually flight instructed from 2014 to 2017 for the university as well. So I was really involved with our aviation department. I was also the president of our Alpha Eta Rho Alpha Alpha Club that's on campus. So yeah, it was just kind of like a dream come true at the time.
Yeah, and I got my bachelor's of health science. I didn't really know what I wanted to do coming to college. I feel like that's, I was like, well, I'll take the general, get my GERs done. But I was always interested in health. It's always been a interest of mine. And so why not get a very broad bachelor's of health science and see what I can do just with that degree. And I'm using it a little bit. I feel that gymnastics is health. You're getting your exercise, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
How has your time with UAA gymnastics and UAA impacted your life today?
I think we have to put this in two categories. My life as a UAA gymnast versus my life as a UAA coach. So as a gymnast, I do think that the coaching staff back then very much focused on helping us grow as people. I remember my freshman year, actually, we had a competition on the East Coast and they made it a point to make sure that we also got to experience New York. And we also always, got something more than just gymnastics. And I think that's something that I really draw upon. My time at UA was as a gymnast was definitely not easy. I had a lot of, like my grandpa passed away, my dad passed away. I had some personal stuff going on as well. So there was always obstacles in my way that I felt like didn't allow me to just succeed right away. And the coaches back then just accepted that, which was huge and helped me to kind of still circumnavigate those to actually end with like my two best years in college and especially college gymnastics. So that's something that I feel like impacted me a lot because now I'm trying to kind of give that to our student athletes that are currently in the program and to see what we can do that's not just gymnastics, right? We always want to look at the human first, make sure they get a good education, make sure they become honorable citizens, and then of course make champions as well. And that's an important aspect, but it can't be the only reason we're here. My time as a UA coach has been a roller coaster, I would say. So as a grad assistant, I started as a grad assistant in 2018, so for the 2019 season. And that was just amazing because it was our best season ever, probably, as a team. We had broken, I think, 19 records that year. And I was actually the beam coach, and Sophia Hyderali went and qualified to regionals on beam. So I got to experience that, which was just amazing. She finished fourth, just losing the tiebreaker to advance to nationals. But that was our best ever Seawolf finish. So it just started like really, really amazing. And then 2020 rolled around and season got cut short, COVID hit. Then I became the interim head coach, which was like, whoo, that's cool. Roller coaster going up. And then our program got cut. So roller coaster, really deep dive. And then we got to maybe rescue it. So we're going a little bit back up. But I think last year was really, really difficult. Obviously, both Kendra and I are way more connected to the team than maybe an outsider who just stepped into this role, since we're both alumni. And I mean, it took a big toll on both of us, I think, physically, mentally, emotionally, because we really gave it all we got. And like, whether that meant not sleeping, whether that meant like donating like almost all my money, whether that meant to be available for, emergency phone calls at midnight and just things like that. So that was definitely a really, really tough year for us. But at the same time, we persevered and we're still here and we're still fighting for this cause. And I think that we're not just fighting for us and the history that we've made with this team, but also for, generations to come. Both of us are sitting here because of UAA gymnastics, because we actually went through the program. So we want to make sure that this is an opportunity that many, many young women around the country or even around the world will continue to have, because we just need more opportunities for women or young women, not less. And so it's been a really big roller coaster. We've given it literally all we got. And it's just good to see that pay off. But we also know there's still a long way to go. It's for sure draining, but also rewarding at the same time, just knowing that we are making a difference right now for hopefully generations to come and not just for this year.
Yeah, UAA has given me a huge opportunity just to live that dream of competing collegiate gymnastics. A lot of athletes don't get to do that. And I am very, very grateful that this program existed. It pushed me to be a better athlete than I ever could think of being. It gave hope to my gym back home that, okay, we can do college gymnastics. I was the first level 10 in that gym and the only athlete at that time that went to college to do gymnastics. And that really gave some like hope and some fire under some people's feet to, I could do this could happen, which was really cool to see for especially that program. I'm very still close with that program back home. And now being a coach, it's even opened another door for that in my gym back home. This is by far my favorite job I've ever had in my life. And I was so excited that I got that opportunity. And I want to share all of my ideas and, all my emotions and really pump the team up and give back to the team that it gave to me. So, like Marie-Sophie said, we gave it our all about a year ago. Looking back, we did half of it, which is pretty impressive now thinking about it. But yeah, very exhausting, but much more rewarding. And I think it built our team much stronger, knowing that they were the ones the reason why we're here today.
That's actually a perfect segue into my next question. How did you come to return as coaches, and what is it like coming back in that capacity and to see the next generation of gymnasts?
I think we have a lot of strengths that we want to give to this upcoming generation and keep pushing the program and building those limits and trying to reach the full potential of this program, because it can be much bigger than it has been. And we, Marie-Sophie and I have such great ideas to make that happen. And super excited that maybe this year, pending COVID, we might be able to implement some of those things to help grow not only the gymnastics program, but also the university and the community support with it. And being a part of that and being a part of the change is the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I think Kendra touched on it just in this last sentence, but the gymnastics culture is changing. It's something that has been covered a lot in the news. It's been on, general public news. So not just the gymnastics world knows about the issues that this sport has faced. And so being part of the kind of new leadership style that has been developed or that has kind of been on the rise is super important to us as well. We were lucky to have good experiences throughout our careers, but we've also had some bad experiences. Maybe not as horrendous as some of the news has covered, but I think every gymnast has their fair share of stories how they don't want to be treated and how we don't want to just be seen as this robotic machine that does gymnastics. And that's another aspect of a really important piece of kind of history being made in that regard right now. And we also know that we're not perfect. We continue to learn. We have like two different like online subscriptions with like master classes that we watch, podcasts that we listen to. So we really try to learn from the best as well. And I think that's another really important aspect that we're really trying to go with what is the current most up to date coaching philosophies. And that's really cool because you get to really create something new since we are in this era of change. So it's a very unique experience.
Earlier, I mentioned there were two fundraising milestones. The first one you hit, but now you're working on the second one of raising another $444,000 before June 2022. Can you talk to me a little bit about the work you're doing to hit that goal?
So we have about a little over $300,000 to go off that goal. So it's nice that we're not starting out at the bottom, but we're already a little bit into it. We are lucky that we just started working with our new senior development officer, Travis Parrish. He's been pretty instrumental in helping us actually formulate a strategy this time around and not just head first through the wall. So we have this really big master plan now that we kind of started to develop and have different categories of crowdfunding, which of course needs to continue, bigger community donors that might be out there, of course, fundraising events as well that we've tried to implement in the last year. But this year, we might get some in person as well. And of course, with our season, fingers crossed, hopefully happening, there might be more opportunities with that. So there's kind of 5 different buckets that we're really trying to get a good grasp on, get a good handle on. We're not quite at a point where we have like the full event calendar, since it just was that summer break and everything is kind of, slowly starting back up. But we're hoping to have multiple different community events. Of course, the season, if it's happening, will be super helpful. We start in January, we're done end of March or beginning of April. And so just staying tuned to our social media accounts is the easiest way to learn what's going on, to learn about our newest ideas, our newest fundraising strategies. But of course, the crowdfunding portion is going to remain a pretty big aspect. So if anybody feels inspired, even to just give $5, they can also hop onto goseawolves.com or just our social media. We post that link so many times and give, $5, $10. It doesn't have to be more than that. I think it's very remarkable that if we look back at all of our donations that came in to make this first target possible, our average donation, if you take everything together, of course, we had those leotard sales, we had raffle tickets, like there's so many opportunities to really support us, but the average donation comes down to like, I think $400. So it really showed that it's not the $50,000. It's not the one sponsorship that got us here. It's everybody's $5, everybody's $10, which just really made a difference. I mean, we did not surpass our first goal by a ton. So that also showed us like, hey, like your donation, no matter the size of it, made it happen. I mean, if we had, one donation less, we might have not even been here. So that was just very remarkable to see how many little pieces really came together to make that work. And for anybody out there who's like, oh, I can only give like $5. That's not going to make a difference. Well, no, it does. And that is what kind of saved us. But going ahead, I mean, the crowdfunding piece will remain. Hopefully, we'll have some good community events as well where we can really also give back to all these amazing philanthropic donors. And going from there, we do have like a long term strategy that is being developed. So we're not going to be in this situation next year. And there is different things that we believe we can do on a just annual level that won't actually require as much hours or manpower of work. They just need to be implemented, installed, and then kind of really kept up with over multiple years so that we can come back stronger. And hopefully once, the university starts going back to a more in-person normal operation, we'll be able to kind of implement those. I mean, I'm just envisioning just even a small piece of open gym, like have students come over and jump into our foam pits. Like, how fun would that be? And so, little things like that, where I believe they can go a long way if we implement them for a long term. They are ready to go, they just need the time to implement. And so that's why we kind of need that gap funding until we can get there. And that's where, the crowd comes in, the community comes into play.
What are your hopes for UAA gymnastics going forward?
I would love for our gymnastics team to become a bigger staple within the university. I mean, students get in for free to our gymnastics meets, and I would love to put on a show that people want to come watch and that people are excited to come watch. Right now, I think the biggest question mark is still COVID. It's still whether we even get to have fans at our competitions. As I said, our season does not start until January, so we do have a chance for that. We do have a chance for things to improve until then. Of course, there hasn't been any decision made in regard to that, so we're kind of waiting for that. But then on the other hand, too, we want to see our relationship with the community deepen. We, of course, had to work really closely together with some of the local gyms to even find a place to work out last year. And so we're hoping to kind of keep that up, to be able to make some more visits now that the NCAA allows for those again. And then coming through for the students' experience as well on campus with potentially some open gym time if it's doable, or maybe a rental if that's doable, or maybe even gymnastics for beginners, have a recreational gymnastics class. Like, those are things that they need to be, of course, feasible, but I think that they could really take our team to another level because we want people to buy in. That's the most important thing. We want our students that are not on the team, which we don't have a big team. So the majority is not on our team. And we want students to really know about our team and also think like, wow, okay, they have a competition. I want to go watch this. This is making my day better. Or if we have some little showcases before our season starts.
Yeah, that last sentence is really just what I hope for our team, is to be more within the university and intertwined and build the gymnastics team, which then will build the university, and just connecting more with the students and really, like she said, putting on a show. College gymnastics is about a show, and it should be entertaining and fun and upbeat, because it's much different than JO gymnastics. It's a great time, and we want to be able to show that and really keep building on it and make it just a big concert, basically, with show and food and all the excitement.
What is it that both of you love most about gymnastics?
That's a hard question because I just love it all. For me, what I loved the most was the team aspect of it, being with, a group of young women and all loving the same sport and being so passionate about it and pushing each other to do better. And, that helps the entire team. And it became more of a team event, less individual like JO usually is. Being a part of a team, and you don't usually get that in JL. You're doing gymnastics or you're maybe doing other sports, and gymnastics is usually not done in high school. However, Alaska does have it, which is really cool. That's not common in the lower 48. And so you go to a club gymnastics and you don't really get that team aspect like you would maybe if you were playing high school basketball or something of that sort. So being a part of a team finally is pretty awesome. It's a good feeling.
I think also just looking at it from a life after gymnastics standpoint, of course, I can't speak to any other sport because I have never done any other sport. But what really is remarkable about gymnastics is how much it teaches you outside of those skills. I mean, it's incredible to see gymnasts flip through the air and land on their feet or catch the bar again, right? Like those are movements that a fraction of the population can even dream about doing, right? So that's really cool. You flip around, you fly around, but then it also teaches you a lot about time management, a lot about perseverance. We do practice more than the average sport. So it really teaches you to remain resilient, to really make sure that you prioritize, that you schedule your day. And these are things that, like, thankfully I know now, because otherwise I don't know how we would have done coaching, fundraising, recruiting, trying to get the team to, remain a team with all the stress that was going on around it. And so those life skills that gymnastics really teaches you, in some aspects, I bet more than other sports. In other aspects, it might be not as much because, as Kendra pointed out, when you're younger, that's an individual sport. But then when you get to college, we do get that team aspect, as she pointed out. So just being able to kind of really transition the lessons you've learned into life after the sport is huge for us too.
Marie-Sophie and Kendra, it was so wonderful having you both on Seawolf Voices today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. It's been awesome being able to share our story and hopefully inspire others to, see that we want to be here and we do want to support everyone.
Seawolf Voices is a production of the University of Alaska Anchorage Office of Advancement and Alumni Relations.